How's it going, guys? My name is Dom, and today we're going to be comparing dates in JavaScript, okay? So, for example, we're going to check if one date is after another date, or is it before it, or is it equal to it, okay? So things like that is going to be quite straightforward to achieve. And we're also going to have support for time as well. So if you need to check the time part of two dates, it's also going to work for stuff like that. So I'm going to be showing you two techniques. The first technique is going to be really simple and easy to do. It requires no external libraries. You can do it in your code right now. And the second technique is going to be a lot more robust and easier to maintain and read. It's going to be achieved using a date library. So let's go inside this JavaScript file right here. And we're going to be creating two dates now to compare. We're going to check if one date is after another date. I'll say here const date1 equal to a new instance of date and pass through here 2024 0506 with a time part of 1045. Okay, this here just means the 6th of May 2024 at 1045. I'll now copy this line and make a second one, so date 2, and make this for July 14, so 7/14, then we'll just say something like 0823, all right? So we have these two dates. How do we verify that, yes, indeed, date 2, July 14, is after date 1, okay? We're going to say const difference is equal to date 2 minus date 1, okay? I'll say console.log, the difference here. I'll save this, go back in the browser, refresh, and we get this number. This here is the difference between those two dates in milliseconds, okay? So in this case here, because this number is a positive number, it tells us that the first date, date 2, is larger or is after the second date, date 1. So of course, yes, that makes sense because July 14 is after May 6. If I make this 2025 for May 6 instead, we'll see that now we indeed get a negative number telling us that, well, yeah, date 2 is now before date 1. So putting it back to the 2024 and the positive number, there we go. So how does this work and why is it working? Well, let's say console log, instead of logging out that difference there, let's log out date1.getTime. So you see here, there are many methods available on the date object right here, yeah? But we only care about getTime for this instance. So calling getTime on the first date, if I save this, go back in the browser, this here is the amount of milliseconds between January 1st, 1970 and the date object. In this case, 10:45 a.m. at, May 6. Okay. Now, if I was to log out day2.getTime, we're going to see a larger number. Okay. Because of course, there's more time between Jan 1st, 1970 and July 14 compared to this one. So this number is larger than this one. So if we were to subtract them like we've done here, then we're going to get a positive number for the result because date 2 is more than date 1. That's how it works. Now, you might notice that we're not calling getTime here. So how is it subtracting two dates without calling getTime? Well, in JavaScript, if you do this against date objects, it's going to implicitly convert them to integers with the getTime method. And this might give you problems with TypeScript. So in general, I would say it's probably better practice to just call getTime. It's going to give you the exact same result. So I'll do this here, copy this, paste it here, log out the difference once again, and we can see that, if I save this, go back in the browser, refresh, we get that same number again. So of course, you can say, okay, difference is more than 0. You know that date 2 is more than date 1. Back in the browser, refresh, and of course we get true there. If this gives you 0 as the output, okay, then you know that those two dates are equal because a 0 difference means they both have the same amount of milliseconds since 1970, which means they're the same date. So you have negative number, 0, and then positive number as your options. Now, all of this here works well, but it can be a little bit confusing and a little bit hard to read, especially when worrying about, which date comes first and is it negative or positive? Is it a 0? All this stuff can be a little bit, a bit annoying to read when it comes to maintaining it later on. So what do? Well, you can use a date library. We're going to be using here date-fns. There are many other date libraries out there, but this one here is relatively straightforward to use. Now, if you're using a standard HTML page, you're not using a build tool or anything like that, you can simply go to this link, which is going to be linked down below as well. It's the date-fns CDN on JS Deliver. We can simply copy the HTML right here and paste it towards the end of the HTML page right here, but of course above our script. And if I save this, we now have date-fns installed on the web page, which means we can start to use some of its functionality. Okay, so if I go back in the browser here, documented on date-fns website, we have a few methods or functions we can use. So as an example, we have things like is after and is before, as well as is equal. We have is future, is past. All of these helper functions to tell us where a date is and sort of compare them. So let's have a look at is after first to give us the same example that we just looked at. So is after is the first date after the second one. So let's call that function. If using the HTML script solution, we're going to say here console.log date-fns.isAfter, then pass through here the first date, so date 2, okay, then date 1 as the second date. I'll save this, go back in the browser, refresh, and we get true once again. So yes, date 2 is after date 1, okay? Now, if you're using Node.js or if you're using a build tool, whatever it is, of course, this is your syntax to import it. You simply import it there, ESM or CommonJS, whatever, and there we go. Now, what about things like is equal? Well, of course, you can call it is equal instead. That's going to give you true or false if the dates are equal. A lot of these here are going to be true or false values, okay? And they're also going to support your time part as well, because a date object in JavaScript also contains the time because it is a timestamp. All right, so have a look at all these methods here, get familiar, and yeah, that is how to compare dates in JavaScript. If this video helped you out, make sure to drop a like and subscribe to Decode, and here is another video.